Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. Man, check this out. On this episode, what I want to talk about is the intern that failed. I got a story to tell. I'm going to tell you about a young man who had an internship and it failed. Back in the fall of 1996, a young man was on the campus of South Carolina State University, headed toward graduation. He was going to graduate in December of 1996. But that fall, it would be the final semester of college. It would be his final semester at South Carolina State University. He had already completed his eligibility of football. He had played 4 years of football at the university, winning a national championship in 1994. But that was it. He was turning his vision and his goals toward the next move. And the next move was this internship. This young man had a bright future ahead of him. Or at least so he thought. Well, he knew it, but he wasn't really sure which way he was going to go. His major was marketing. However, he had a minor in radio broadcasting. And it's interesting because a lot of people would tell him later on in life, you sound like you should be on TV or radio. There's a reason why. He had a minor in radio broadcasting. That young man was yours truly, 12 Kyle. So yeah, the fall of 1996, I had an internship that actually failed. And I think it's important to tell this story because there's always a segment of people, be it right or wrong, that think that, some of us did everything right or did it the right way. No, we made some mistakes along the way. We bumped our head a few times. I try to tell my kids, I made a lot of mistakes along the way. I'm not ashamed to say that. I mean, I'm human. The objective is to not make the same mistake twice, right? Because if you don't make the same mistake twice, that means you've learned from that mistake. And more importantly, as a parent, as a father, I want to ensure that, or at least do my best to ensure that my kids don't make the same mistakes that I made. But let me take you back to 1996. Again, it's the fall. Football's over for me. I am a, as we would call them, regular student, right? So I'm doing this internship. Well, I'm pursuing my undergraduate degree in marketing with a concentration in a minor in radio broadcasting. One of my professors, Gil Harris. Shout out to Gil Harris. He is still, at the time of this recording, the public address announcer at our football games at South Carolina State University. And that's just hearing him call the games when I go back for football games or if I go back for homecoming is still fun to hear. That being said, Mr. Harris presented an opportunity for me. He said, hey, we may have this internship that I would like for you to apply for. I was like, okay, Mr. Harris, what you got? And he said, the internship would involve you working at Channel 10. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with South Carolina, and most of you wouldn't be because y'all ain't from there. I went to school at, again, South Carolina State University. Channel 10 is news station WIS, and it's located in Columbia. Now, Columbia, the distance from Columbia to Orangeburg, where I went to school, roughly about 35 miles. So it's not a long drive. At least it's not a long drive now, but I'm older now. Back then it seemed like forever. But nonetheless, the internship would involve me for a couple of days a week going to Columbia and working at Channel 10. Well, this is perfect because I wanted to eventually move from radio to TV. I thought radio, and the only reason why I was pursuing a minor in radio broadcasting was because we didn't have a major in it and we didn't have TV broadcasting as well, because I would have majored in broadcasting in college as opposed to marketing. And subsequently, 2 years after I graduated, they got both, but that's beside the point. So I'm presented with this opportunity to go work at an unpaid internship at WIS Channel 10. And so I was like, okay, bet, let me do it. And so I'm thinking in my head, like, this is going to be great. For one, I get the opportunity to not only be in Columbia, where is, if you're familiar with your geography, Columbia is the capital city of South Carolina. I get a chance to be in Columbia, but also get a chance to, get my foot in the door in this industry. And in my mind, I'm thinking, hey, I can be an intern. And if I do well enough, by the time I, graduate in December, they'll offer me a job. And the next thing you know, I'll be working at Channel 10 doing sports, which would be perfect for me because that's right up my wheelhouse. I was a guy who watched ESPN Sports Center every single day. I knew of everybody. Fun fact, there was, in my hometown of Florence, South Carolina, there was a guy on Channel 15, which was the ABC affiliate, who actually got his start there. And he would later go on to ESPN. But his first job as a sports reporter was at Channel 15 in Florence. That guy was the late, great Stuart Scott. In fact, Stuart Scott's first interview was my uncle, Harry Carson, who at the time was a member of the New York Football Giants. He played for 13 seasons there and is now in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So I'm a big Stuart Scott fan. I'm a big ESPN fan. I watch ESPN every day. I know sports. I just finished playing football. This would have been perfect. So I jumped at the chance to go work and do this internship at Channel 10. Everything was great. Mr. Harris made a few phone calls. I don't even think I filled out any paperwork. I think I just, he nominated me and it was just really just me accepting it. And this was a relationship that between South Carolina State University and this news station. And it was the first of its kind. Nobody else had this opportunity. So this was the step. This was the step to get me into the door. This was the step to, in my mind, start my career in broadcasting. And so I think the idea was I was supposed to go to Columbia twice a week. I don't think it was 3 times a week. I think it was twice a week. So I think it was like, let's just say Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so, me, I'm hyped up. I'm gassed up. I'm ready to go. I go to Columbia, get to Channel 10, get introduced to some people. Now, the person who I was looking forward to meeting the most was the main sports reporter. I think he was sports director at the time. He may even still be the sports director for all I know. A guy by the name of Rick Henry. What was interesting about Rick Henry was my brother, and Rick Henry also used to work in my hometown of Florence, South Carolina. So, I was looking forward to meeting Rick. I was looking forward to getting to know him. I was looking forward to, getting experience under his tutelage, if you will. And so I'll never forget my first day. I go, I fill out, I get there, I fill out some paperwork, get introduced to some people, and, just kind of sitting around, not really doing much. The newsroom really wasn't buzzing that much. but at the time it's the number one news station in Columbia, and subsequently the number one news station in the state. So having an opportunity to be here on a weekly basis is key. So I had a great time. The first day there, just met people. I didn't do anything special, anything like that. Didn't even get a chance to meet Rick or whatever. And so then the next day that I had to come back, I came back. And I think the first day I went, I was in a suit, and they were like, "Hey man, you don't have to come in a suit. Like you can relax. It's we're kind of casual. It's not like you're gonna be on camera or anything like that." And they really didn't tell me what I was gonna be doing, but I was cool. I was like, "All right, cool. Well, what I need to wear." It was like, just collared shirt and some khakis. I was like, "Okay, I can do that." And so I came back on Thursday. I'm gassed up. I'm ready to go. I get there. And I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. And, they sit me in this office, and I'm just sitting in the office. And then they say, "Hey, Bob is doing a story, and he's, taking a camera guy out. Why don't you get in the car with the camera guy and go with Bob so you guys can cover this story?" I was like, okay. I didn't know what this all entailed, but I was like, all right, let me do it. So I get in the car with the camera guy. I think his name was Reggie. So I get in the car with Reggie, and small talk, and he's like, "Hey, well, what do you do? What are you trying to do?" And he told me, it's a very competitive industry, and it's you can get your feet wet here and get you good. It's a good place to start, so forth and so on. So he's giving me, the pep talk and everything. So Bob is the reporter. He's covering this murder that happened in like West Columbia or something like that. And Reggie's the camera guy. So Reggie sets up, he's filming it or whatever like that. And, that was pretty much it. So they do the story. I'm standing there. I'm off the camera. I'm just kind of watching how Reggie does it. And, then that's cool. Come back to the station, kind of hang out a little bit. Don't really do much after that. And then it's time for me to go. And then I go back to Orangeburg, and then I come back the next week. And, it's kind of the same thing. They keep sending me out with the camera guy to cover these stories, and I'm just watching the camera guy film. And I'm a little anxious at this point because I want to do something. I mean, I did not know then what all it entailed, basically. And you're young, you're impressionable, you're anxious. You want it right now. You want what you want when you want it. Most of us are like that. Unfortunately, the world doesn't work like that, right? So this goes on for a couple of weeks. And so all I'm doing is just going with the camera guy. And I, pull somebody to the side. I can't remember who I talked to. I think it was the lady who was like the liaison. And I was like, well, hey, am I going to cover sports or anything like that? She was like, well, no, we're just going to have you, go with Reggie and some of the other camera guys to, learn how to work the camera, and they're going to show you how to edit. They're going to show you how to do this and do that. Huh. That ain't what I'm here for. I want to be sitting at the desk. I want to be in front of the camera. I'm not trying to be behind the camera. I am Kyle. I'm the star. Or at least so I thought. So that happens. I go back to class because at this time I still have a broadcasting class with Mr. Harris. So Mr. Harris, we're talking or whatever. And I said, Mr. Harris, can I holler at you after class? He's like, yeah, yes, Kyle, you can. He talked like this. Yes, Kyle, please come to see me after class. That would be great. I have office hours between 12 and 2. You can see me then. I was like, okay, I'll come back at 12:30. That'll be great. I'll be back from Bojangles by then. Shout out to Mr. Harris. And so I go to see Mr. Harris, and I'm talking to him. I'm like, hey, Mr. Harris, this is cool, but this ain't, what I was thinking it was going to be. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm not doing anything. Like, I'm just riding with the camera guy. And I said, when I was there yesterday, they were telling me, like, look, you're just gonna you're gonna be with the camera guy and you're gonna learn how to, you know, film and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't want to work a camera. I said, I want to be in front of the camera. And he was like, well, Kyle, you just have to, kind of see what they're doing and learn the game first. And then, they'll implement you in probably at the end of your internship. Or maybe they won't. He's like, but at least you'll have that knowledge. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, why am I doing that? Who does that? And so I talked it over with my girl, Sharice, who's now my wife. And I was explaining to her my frustration because, again, I'm a college student. So keep in mind, I don't have any money. I'm driving to Columbia twice a week. And again, it's 35 miles. So that's, you're spending gas. And I don't have no money. And I'm not wealthy. So it's not like I can call home and say, hey, Mom, can you send me, $500? I can't do that. And it was a lot. So I was, starting to get a little bit annoyed with it. And so for the next couple of days, I would go and I'd ride around with the camera guy and we go to, and it kind of picked up because like we would go different places and I'm just standing there watching. And then the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. And I'll never forget it. So there was an assignment to cover the Ringling Brothers circus. The circus had come to town. And it was at, I want to say, it was at the basketball. I can't even remember the name of the was it Township? Was it the Township? I can't remember if that's the name of the old basketball arena. But anyway, let's just say it's at the Township Arena and Township Auditorium. That's it. So it's at the Township Auditorium and they're covering Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey's circus. And the circus is there. They got the lions, they got the tigers, they got all kind of animals, they got clowns. And we're filming this stuff. Well, he's filming this stuff. Reggie's filming this stuff. And I'm standing by this podium, and the only thing separates me from the floor of the circus is the podium. And so Reggie and I are standing there talking, and they bring in the elephants. And these elephants are huge. I mean, they're elephants. You've never seen a small elephant. In fact, I'd never been that close to an elephant before, but it's the circus. So it's whatever. And I'm telling Reggie, like, hey, man, when am I going to get a chance to, do some sports? Because I'm a sports guy. I'm Mr. Sports. When am I going to get a chance to do that? And he's just like, just take your time. It's going to come. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm wasting my time. And when I talked to my girl, she pretty much said the same thing, like, yo, you wasting your time. And I was wasting my time and I'm wasting money. And I'm not at this point in the position where I'm going to throw away money, right? So this was the turning point. So I'm standing there by this podium and I'm hearing the tigers roar and I'm hearing, all of this stuff going on. And the crowd is and the people going crazy. I mean, the people are kind of milling around because the circus is just started. And it hadn't really officially been in, but they walked the elephants in. And I'll never forget, this elephant made this loud noise. And I didn't know what the noise was because I was in the middle of a sentence talking to Reggie. And I had my back turned to the elephants. And the next thing I know, there's the nastiest smell that you would ever want to smell. And I look and I turn over my shoulder after the elephant makes this noise, maybe about 3 seconds later, after I get this smell, and the elephant has taken a dump on the floor. I was like, I'm out. I'm done. I was like, I didn't go to school for 5 years for this. Nah, man. I'm not. I'm done. DUN. I'm done. It was at that moment I quit. I'm done with this internship. And so we get back to the station and I'm talking to the liaison lady. And she was like, well, yeah, we'll do this on Tuesday. I was like, I'm not coming back. What do you mean? I'm not coming back. I'm done. That's it. Today's my last day. And she was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, I'm sure. And I got my little stuff, hopped in my Nissan Sentra, and drove back to Orangeburg. And so the lady makes the call to Mr. Harris. So Mr. Harris calls me. He calls me. I think he called my door. Didn't know. I wasn't living in the door. I was off campus. He called me off campus in my apartment. And he was like, Kyle, what is going on? They told me that you quit. I was like, yeah. I'm done. I was like, man, I didn't sign up for this. I was like, I want to do sports. I don't want to be a cameraman. I'm not trying to be a news anchor. I want to do sports. I was like, even if I'm just a weekend reporter, I was like, I'll do that. I was like, but I'm not working on cameras. I'm not going to the circus to have elephants poop on me. They didn't, but you get the point. And so Mr. Harris was very disappointed because he handpicked me. And he said, he said, I wish you would have talked to me before you did this because you have now put South Carolina State University in jeopardy of losing that partnership. I didn't think about it like that. Like that was really a selfish move. I didn't even think that not only did I mess it up for him and his name because he stuck his neck out for me. I don't know, to this day, I don't know how this position or internship was created. Not only did I jeopardize it for him and whatever relationship he had with that news station, but I also messed it up for the kid next semester because keep in mind, I'm graduating in 2 months. I'm messing it up for the kid next semester who is going to go to Channel 10 and the kid the following semester to go to Channel 10. And I didn't think about that. I was very selfish in that moment and I was very impatient. And I let my emotions get the best of me. And I didn't think it out. And I think that was one of the few times in my life where I made a major decision and I did not consult with my parents. See, I have an awesome relationship with my parents. And I'm very thankful, for that. But, even to this day, I'm grown, real grown. But I don't make major decisions without, and I don't ask for my parents' permission, obviously, but I do keep them in the loop. When I'm doing something, if I'm taking a job or if I'm doing something, career wise, I mean, anything, I will, at least run it by them. I'm not telling them to get their permission, but I am telling them, hey, this is what I'm doing. I know for a fact that my parents would have told me like, look, don't quit. And I haven't quit a lot of things in my lifetime. But that was one. And it wasn't until Mr. Harris said what he said that I realized that I really messed up. And I wasn't so much worried about me and how it looked on me because I didn't know those people. I didn't know those people at Channel 10. Odds were likely I was never going to see them again. But I didn't like the position that I put Mr. Harris in. I didn't like the position that I put the university in. And again, it was me being selfish. And that internship failed. It failed because I failed. And I'll be honest with y'all. I went on to graduate, obviously, in December 14th, 1996. But months after graduation, I really regretted that. Not so much as because like I thought, well, I knew it was something bad, but I started thinking about if I had stuck it out, maybe, just maybe, I'll eventually get to sports. I'll eventually get to, working with Rick. And maybe that would be just a starting point. And then maybe after a year or so, I could, I'd obviously move to Columbia, and then maybe, I get looked at by an Atlanta station. And I move to Atlanta, or I move to Jacksonville, or I move to Cleveland. I don't know. But I failed. And I failed in effort, and I failed in communication. And it didn't have to be that way. But when you make decisions based on your emotions, more often than not, you're going to fail because you don't think it out. I didn't think that out. All I had to do was take a moment to really, really think about what the future would look like. And I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of regrets in life, but there was a point in time where I really regretted that move because even coming to Atlanta, because like I said, I graduated December 1996. July 24th, 1997, I moved to Atlanta, and I've been here ever since. But Atlanta was riding the wave of, culturally, we're riding the wave of Freaknik. So there were a lot of people like me who were moving to Atlanta, a lot of young Black kids. Sports-wise, it was still reeling and riding the wave from the Olympics, which happened the summer of 96. So you got the Olympics, you got Freaknik, you got a whole bunch of moving parts, a lot of money, and a lot of young people infused into the city. And there were TV stations, there were radio stations that became open, and those opportunities were there. And I shouldn't say had. I earned my business degree, but I had an inside track at a TV gig, and I threw it away off of an emotional decision, one that I didn't really think all the way through. Fortunately enough for me, my actions didn't damage the relationship between Gil Harris and Channel 10. Fortunately for me, my actions did not damage the relationship between Channel 10 and South Carolina State University. But guess who never got a TV job? Guess who never got a radio job? Me. I don't regret it because my career path has been one that has been pretty good. But especially when I do this podcast, there are people who have approached me and said, hey, you probably should be doing TV or radio. There's no way in hell I'd do it now because I don't think I could make the money that I would want to make in it. But if I had taken it then, I'd be making pretty decent money, I think. And I may have bounced around, but I don't have any regrets now. I'll just put it like that. I think I chose the path and I ran the race that I was supposed to run, and it's turned out pretty well for me. But I can only reminisce and tell you that if you think I didn't make mistakes along the way in this lifetime, you're crazy. There were mistakes made. There were things that if given a chance, I'd probably do them again differently. But no regrets at this point. No, I'm cool. But if I had to do it all over again, I still may have quit. I wouldn't have done it the way that I did it, though. And let that be a lesson to you all that are listening. Never make emotional decisions because you never know who you may affect down the road. More importantly, yourself. That's going to do it for me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. The podcast drops every Thursday and every Sunday at midnight. You can find the podcast wherever you get your podcast, and wherever you can stream it for free. That's where we are. Speaking of free, we're on YouTube. Got a YouTube channel. Subscribe. Make sure that once you subscribe, you hit the like button, hit the notification button. That way you get notifications when the episode drops. What's important about that is that the YouTube drops before the audio drops. And the great thing about YouTube is that we have both audio and visual for the YouTube channel. If you're on social media, hit us up on Twitter X, Instagram, Facebook. What else? We're on Threads and TikTok at 12 Kyle, at 12 Kyle Podcast. If you feel so inclined, you want to support the podcast financially, a couple of ways you can do that. Look in the description box. There's a link that says merch. Click that link. You can get 12 Kyle Podcast t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, posters, whatever you want. We got it at a very low price. You can also hit us up, Cash App, $TWELVEKYLE. Again, that's going to do it for me. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. I'll catch you guys next time. 5 G's.